Welcome back to the Talking Game podcast. We are done with division or championship weekend. I'm sorry. Had our NFC Championship, AFC Championship. Lots to cover. Before I go on a rant about anything else, I'll just, uh, okay, I will be honest before I even jump into the games. The
Okay.
Super Bowl that we're about to get is a Super Bowl I don't want. I don't think
Why?
a lot of people want it. I think a lot of America agrees with me where they wanted the Ravens and Lions to be in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
That's just me. Reason behind that is I think the Chiefs are basically the new Patriots, where people are just tired of seeing them in the Super Bowl, so hence they bet against them. I'm tired of seeing Jackson Mahomes. I'm tired of seeing the Kelseys. I'm tired of seeing Taylor Swift. It's getting really annoying.
Okay.
On the opposite end, you have America's darlings in the Lions. Everybody wants an underdog story, but unfortunately, it didn't come true. So now you get a 49ers team that, pretty much from day one, they were predicted to go to the Super Bowl, and here they are. So cool. Yeah, you have two great teams going up against each other. I would have had the Ravens and Lions. Just me.
I kind of agree. But my reasoning is because we just saw these teams like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was. So, I like seeing the new teams. Like I really loved watching that Rams and Bengals Super Bowl because it was new teams, it was new guys. Like that was fun. We've seen now Mahomes in 4 Super Bowls?
4 out of the last 5.
4 out of the last 5. So I get the frustration there and the annoyance there. I'm not at that level where I hate the Chiefs like how I used to hate the Patriots yet. Now, if they obviously keep winning, that level might get there. But I'm at that level with the whole marketing of T Swift and Kelsey's, and that's where I get annoyed with it. Where I'm just like, all right, like this is like a marketing machine for the Chiefs and the success they get. But I think I was disappointed because I wanted to see two teams that we typically don't see in the Super Bowl. Maybe outside the Ravens, we've seen more often clearly than the Lions. But yeah, that's where I was at. I was like, man, I kind of just wanted to see two teams we don't really see that often. We've seen the Niners in recent history twice, as well. So
it is what it is. It's the Super Bowl that we have ahead of us, but how do we get there is the question. So we'll go ahead and break that down real quick. First game on Sunday was the AFC Championship game, and the Chiefs heading over to Baltimore to play the Ravens. Anyone that didn't watch that game, Chiefs came on top 17-10 in a game that, for a team that we've known for the Chiefs, we always talk about offense. It's the defense, honestly. The defense for this team. Spagnuolo has proved to be probably one of the most elite defensive coordinators in the league. The game plan they had for Lamar was brilliant, although it's a game plan that a lot of teams kind of schemed up, but they couldn't be effective with it. But the Chiefs were. Just all right. This is a game of mistakes, right? For me.
okay.
Mistakes and undisciplined behavior, right? And I'm strictly looking at the Ravens here.
Yeah.
Yes. Do the Chiefs do things that are annoying? Do they get away with calls? Are they not called compared to other teams on certain things? Of course. But you know what? That's what happens when you go up against a perennial powerhouse in the league, that the league has a benefit of, doing well. We can call it conspiracy, whatever the hell you want to call it, but the league sees a benefit in the Chiefs doing well. Hence why Mahomes gets calls. And they don't get called as much. So it is what it is. But big mistakes. Roughing the passer penalty on. God, I can't remember his name.
David Clowney.
Yeah, Clowney. Zay Flowers. 2 mistakes in a row. The taunting penalty, or they want to call it, the excessive roughness, where the hell. And then the fumble into the end zone, which honestly swung the game completely in a different direction.
Lamar's interception.
Lamar interception at the end of the game, right? The Ravens had chances, right, in this game. It's not like the Chiefs were far and ahead of it. The fourth quarter, they had 3 chances to put points on the board. But unfortunately, you had a fumble and you had a what do you want to call it? An interception and then settling for a Justin Tucker field goal. I don't know. Throughout the game, it just seemed like they were put in a situation where I don't know, lack of discipline, which is really weird for a Harbaugh team. Not something that um, I thought I would see. The game was chippy. Honestly, I think it was actually chippier than the NFC game. We talked about that last week as well, about the AFC just kind of hating each other across the board.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's really just more of a disappointment in Baltimore. I mean, all season long, you and I kind of have skated by the Kansas City conversations by just either saying, they're the champions, they are what they are, we know who they're going to be, we already know about the Chiefs. But I think we've done that for so long now where we just haven't concentrated on the changes they've made as a team, is what I came out of this game as. I've recognized the Chiefs defense being elite. I didn't realize how good they were until this game, honestly. I didn't realize how well that Andy Reid changed that offensive game plan to, it's just quick hits. That's all it is. They weren't throwing it down the field. It's quick hits. The fact that there was one point in the game where Travis Kelce was 11 for 11 on targets and catches for 119 yards.
Yeah.
A tight end having that much. I mean, come on, man. Like, great game
Mahomes,
planning, and it is what it is. It sucks.
Mahomes was what, 10 of 10 in the first quarter? Had a perfect first quarter with the touchdown.
First quarter, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of my rant on it. It's just I think Baltimore lost this game toward the end, but I think the Chiefs played well to win this game until the end. It was more of a giveaway by Baltimore.
Yeah, for me, this story for Baltimore is the story of two coordinators, Mike Macdonald and Todd Monken. Whereas all season long, Mike Macdonald had been praised, and he was rightfully being praised as a top-notch defensive coordinator, prospecting head coach. And even in this game, he held the Chiefs offense to 17 points. Incredible. First half looked rough, but second half, towards the end, they got it going. McDonald started calling blitzes. It wasn't like the defense let anything down. They like you said, they gave the Ravens and Lamar 3 other chances to put points on the board, and they couldn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it flips the script to Todd Monken, where I think halfway through the third quarter, I started kind of laughing because Monken was like forcing Lamar to go toe-to-toe with Mahomes in the throwing game, where realistically, if you just kept running the ball and doing your normal hitting the tight end, running the ball, and Lamar using his legs, which has been the bread and butter of your offense all season long, you probably would have won that game. But Monken, for some reason, had Lamar literally go 37 attempts compared to Mahomes' 39 attempts. Gus Edwards only had 3 carries. I mean, Pacheco had 24. It's like, but the bread and butter of, the bread and butter of the Ravens was run the ball, throw it to the tight ends, and Lamar take off. And they didn't do any of those 3 things on offense. And that's really why they lost. And that's why they looked so kind of lost and undisciplined. They didn't do anything offensively that was their bread and butter. But kudos to Spags and that Chiefs defense to force Lamar to throw to the receivers, where the Kansas City defense is like top 5 in pass coverage. Mm-hmm. And so forcing Lamar to throw to the receivers specifically, kudos to Spags to draw up the blitz and get into Lamar's head and cause chaos in the pocket to where Lamar forced himself into bad situations. So for the Chiefs, I'll wrap it up. There were we mentioned Chiefs and the Patriots and Brady and Mahomes and all that. There were times during Brady's runs where the offense wasn't always high powered and the defense would consistently just be good. And when you have Tom Brady, you always have a shot. Mm-hmm. That's where the Chiefs are right now, where it's like our offense isn't high powered, but our defense is good, and we have Patrick Mahomes. We'll always have a shot. Mm-hmm. That's where the Chiefs are rebuilding and retooling around Patrick for a second, third run, fourth run, fifth run. It just keeps retooling around him. And when you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, you can retool in different ways, whether it's the run game in Pacheco, whether you bolster up the defense. Who knows? Maybe next offseason they bring in a guy like T. Higgins, and it just keeps evolving. It's Patrick Mahomes.
Okay. Yeah. Talking about Mahomes, I think the greatness in him being a quarterback or as a quarterback is he's never strayed away from who he is, right? Every single game, it's an embodiment of who he is as a quarterback, right? He's not like, all right, cool, all of a sudden I'm going to start running the ball more, or all of a sudden I'm going to start doing X, Y, and Z more. His game plan has always been his game plan, which is kind of the opposite of what I saw from Lamar today. It's literally, I think I was screaming at the TV a few times where I'm like, Lamar, just take off, dude. You don't need
Yeah.
those 2 extra 3 seconds. Do what you do best. By you waiting those 2 or 3 extra seconds, all of a sudden the defense is reset. You're not going to get that chunk play. I was like, this is not the Lamar that we've seen all season long, and I don't know if it's because he was playing from a position of being behind and thinking that the big chunk plays come through the air, where it's I don't know. I would have liked to see him take off immediately, right? Don't think it. Do what you do best, man. Like, you're a running quarterback, right? That makes great throws. You're not an elite thrower that makes runs. I mean,
Yep.
so I think he strayed away from that, unfortunately. Hence
Yeah.
why you put him in a horrible situation at the end of the game where he's throwing it into triple coverage. It's just not what he does.
Yeah. Again, they didn't run the ball. He didn't run the ball, and they didn't go to their bread and butter of the Ravens' offense is built on run.
Yeah.
And whether it's run with Lamar and from the pocket or run with Gus Edwards, they didn't run. And the team that ran the ball semi well, I mean, Pacheco had 68 carries. It's not like he killed it, but again, you have Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, the Ravens shot themselves in the foot. It wasn't like the Chiefs beat the Ravens. The Ravens beat themselves. They didn't do anything offensively what they've done all season long.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was all set up for them, honestly. It really was. There wasn't a better shot than right now, but so it is what it is. We're talking about teams that shot themselves in the foot. We have a great one in the next game. The NFC Championship game. 49ers hosting the Detroit Lions in a game that looked like it was going to be a runaway early on, but I have told people, and I've consistently said it all season long, the Detroit Lions do not know how to put away games. They do not know how to hold a lead. Quite frankly, they don't know how to win a game without it being a interesting heart, palpitation for their fans. Yeah. There's a lot to talk about in this game. There's a lot. I'll break down some of it, and I'm sure you'll break down the rest. First off, first quarter or first half, Ben Johnson basically solidified why he needs to be a head coach, or solidified why he's one of the better offensive coordinators in the league. That game plan to just basically run at that defense, which is actually not that elite compared to other defenses in the league, was great. They were scheming up so many different ways to actually get Montgomery the ball, Jameson Williams the ball on that touchdown on the reverse, even with Jahmyr Gibbs, just giving him the opportunity to do what he does best in space. So great game planning. And then, also what that does is that allows Jared Goff to make safe throws or make more calculated throws. And everything was working. I think at half, what was the score? 21-7? 24-7. They were up by 17.
Yep.
Fully running away with it. It wasn't even a debate. Honestly, I was just like, all right, well, I mean, it's going to take a lot for them to blow this lead. Well,
they did.
They did.
They did.
Okay. So anyways, with Ben Johnson, I don't think the second half was a downplay on his offensive coordinator abilities. Just the opportunities were there. They weren't taken advantage of. I think they also had a case of the dropsies. Kadarius Toney probably sent some evil eye their way since he wasn't playing. Someone had to be on the field. Josh Reynolds dropping two major passes, one on a 4th and 2, which honestly changed the entire landscape of this game. 4th and 2, you are up by 14, and you decide to go for it on the 49ers 30-yard line. The play actually schemed out pretty well. Just Josh Reynolds, alligator armed it and could not catch it. But once again, it goes to the, something that was consistently said throughout the broadcast was, Detroit's playing with house money. They're playing with house money. And I really hate that, right? Because, all right, initially it's cool. I understand why you're saying that because, they've made it farther than they're supposed to make it. But you're at the NFC Championship game. This is not the time to sit there and say, we're playing with house money. When they're out 24-7, you definitely have house money in your hands, right? But this is what makes people in Vegas funny because they're talking about the Super Bowl in Vegas. This is what causes people in Vegas to go from being up high to losing all the money that they won, and then also losing all the money they had to play with. Is they're on this crazy high, Then all of a sudden, house money turns into stupid money. House money
Mhm.
turns into non-logical thinking money. You're making decisions based on ego, based on culture, personality, right? I sit there. I think Tony Romo was even trying to like say, "This is who Dan Campbell is." He said from the start, they're going for on fourth down. This is cool, man. Yeah, I understand how that may have gotten you to this point, but you were 1 quarter away. Right, I guess at that point, a quarter and a half away from making the Super Bowl. So rather than sitting there and saying, "I want to be ballsy and go up by 3 scores rather than just two," all of a sudden you decide to go for it. You miss it. San Francisco goes down, has a uh, crazy 51-yard bomb, and that just completely turned the momentum in this game. All of a sudden, every single thing started getting derailed. Next drive, Detroit has a fumble right away. So all of a sudden, that 14-point lead that could have been a 17-point lead is completely wiped out. And
Yep.
from there, I mean, anyone that was watching that game, it's like San Francisco has all the momentum in the world, and they're at home now, right? So like you have the crowd finally being brought back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those things where you're just watching a tragedy unfold, in my opinion. I'll let you kind of run into what else you saw in the game, and then you and I can discuss Dan Campbell and his fourth down decisions.
Okay. I was going to ask you that, but we'll leave that for the end. Realistically, okay, I'll start it with the Niners. Niners defensively had their fits. And first half, Ben Johnson ran the freaking rock down their throat. Like, that was, I think I texted it, the Lions' run game is art. Like, it's beautiful run football. And Ben Johnson knew that. He was like, oh, I can run on these guys, which sounds crazy to say with all the guys they have on defense, but you can run on the Lions or the Niners. But for some reason, second half, the run game for the Lions started to slow down, and then the defense for the Niners started to pick up. They started to see things quicker. They were taking away the middle of the field. A lot of aggressive hits and tackles. They started playing smash mouth Niners football. Offensively, it wasn't the prettiest game for Christian McCaffrey, but he was the X factor in my opinion. He finished with 90 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing, and then I think he had 42 yards receiving. The big plays were all on like Kittle and the crazy catch to Ayuk, bounce to Ayuk, Debo, and like all that stuff. But CMC was right there, consistently just churning out yards, getting 4.5 yards a carry. So if he wasn't having his big plays, then you would have relied more on Brock Purdy. And I think Brock himself realized that maybe throwing the ball isn't the best idea. I mean, Brock Purdy himself had 48 yards rushing. Kind of did what Lamar should have done. If the throw's not there, just fucking take off, dude. Run. So for the Niners, it's just good coaching. Shanahan, even after they won, when he was on stage, it looks like he didn't care to even like hold the trophy or anything. He's like, yeah, whatever. I want to get to the Super Bowl. Like, for the Lions, this will lead into the debate for Dan Campbell. We knew the Lions defense was going to struggle. They would have to have an incredible play, whether it be Hutch or anyone else, to save the game, because the Lions put themselves into situations that we've seen all year long, that you and I have said that they don't close out games. And so when the situation came, the defense couldn't step up and close out the game. But the way they got into that situation with the gutsy calls from Dan Campbell, I don't blame Campbell. I really don't. I had thought about it. I kept my head pretty cool, and I looked at like the analytics about it for both of those plays. I don't have my phone with me, but both of those plays, it was like a 0.2% chance or 0.3% chance difference of winning and losing the game. But the reason I don't blame Campbell is because one of those plays was executed and dropped. That's not on Campbell, the Josh Reynolds one. The other one, it wasn't executed to even given an opportunity, but I don't blame him for taking that opportunity because he was behind the 8 ball already. So I don't blame Campbell for that. I think what I do blame Campbell for is the over aggressiveness. They wouldn't be in the NFC Championship if he wasn't over aggressive. They wouldn't be in this situation at all because they've played like this all season long. So it's like a double-edged sword, right? Like you did this all season long, and some games it bit you in the butt, some games it worked, but more likely it worked. And so that's why you're able to be in this situation in the NFC Championship game. And I think if those plays were converted, we would be having a totally different conversation and applauding Dan Campbell's gutsiness to go for it on 4th down twice in a championship game. That's how I look at it. I don't think it's 100% his fault. I think just poor execution of one play and an unfortunate situation for the
other. No. No. Okay. 4th and 2, when they're up 14, I understand the want to be aggressive, right? But I think sometimes there's a fine line between being aggressive and, just trying to force something that you don't necessarily need to do. And that's simply it. It's when you can easily go up by 3 scores, why not? Right? A field goal helps you out there. A field goal doesn't hurt you in any which way. A field goal simply puts you up by 3 scores.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand it where it's like, all right, cool. We kick a field goal here. It's, no matter what, it's not going to affect, X, Y, and Z. But in this sense, like you're in the NFC Championship game. It's kind of when you have to stack your cards, man. Like, take advantage of what's being given to you sometimes, right? You don't have to sit there and force. You don't have to sit there and like play Texas Hold'em and wait for the river card to fucking unfold to win a hand, right? Like if you won the hand, just take it sometimes. I'm sorry, I'm going to Vegas examples, but I don't give a shit. It's a Super Bowl. At that point, I think that was actually a moment where it's like, all right, just kick the field goal. That would have made more sense. The second one, it's like, all right, cool. Actually, no, fuck that. No, the second one, no. You would have kicked that field goal. The game would have been tied, right? At that point, no matter what, you're putting yourself in a position to win, right? You're not putting yourself in a position to have to fight back to win, right? That's an easy tie up, right? That's a point where it's either. So I was telling the guys, it's like, the issue I have here is, I don't know if he's just trying to force a game-winning field goal, or if he's trying to force a game-tying field goal at the end. It seems like he was almost going for the tie more than anything else. You're going to bring in a cold kicker who had 2 opportunities to kick a field goal, and all of a sudden there and say, all right, man, go kick this field goal, go tie it up for us, or maybe if they were in a different position, go win this game. I don't get it. I don't. Trust me, I love being aggressive, right? But this is the shit that got Brandon Staley fired, right? Making stupid decisions because he relied too heavily on analytics when sometimes common sense kind of makes the most, these guys that won Super Bowls all of 5 years ago didn't use analytics. They just used the smartness in their heads, man. Like what's the most reasonable outcome here, right? And in that case, like, I don't know. I get you want to be aggressive. I get that's your culture, but dude, you have 3 more years. You have 3 more years with an amazing roster to make these kind of things, right? You are in a position to put your team into a Super Bowl. I don't know. That's just the way I say it. If this was a regular season, I understand it, right? But this is a win or go home situation. There has to be some reasonableness in this.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to this is the only way they know how to play, right? This is the only way Campbell knows how to coach. This is the farthest they've gone as a franchise in the playoffs, and this is the farthest Campbell's gone as a head coach as well, right? So learning situation, obviously. And you like you said, you have 3 years. You have unfortunate mistakes that led up to it too, right? So but Jamison Williams dropping the touchdown, Gibbs' fumble, outside of Reynolds' 4th down incompletion, he had a 3rd down incompletion drop. So it's like we can look at those 2 4th down plays and try to put 100% blame, which we can. You if you want to, you can, because your logic's not wrong. Like, hey, go up 2 or 3 scores. Or we can look at it and be like, well, those are 2 factors to a bunch of other factors that went wrong for Detroit. That's how I see it. I don't see those 2 factors as the main factors as to why they lost. I think it was all encompassing with all the other mistakes that they were making, which goes back to what we said all season long, is that they don't know how to close out games because they do stuff like this. They make these little boneheaded mistakes in the second half and let teams come back into games. Exactly like how we saw.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. To the end of the day, I respect what the Detroit Lions have done to get to this point. I also just on the back end of that, you have a young roster. You have a team that has never been in this position, right? This is brand new to pretty much every single person outside of 3 guys on that team, right? Like they're not used to being put in this position. So I think sometimes when you're put in a position where you have a young roster and you don't have all that experience, that's where coaching takes over, right? That's where it's like you just have to, rather than sticking with a philosophy that is risky, maybe shift your philosophy into something that is manageable. That is
Well, that philosophy of his is I trust my guys. So
I get it, but
think about
your kicker is one of your guys, though.
your kicker is one of your guys, which you're not wrong. But also his philosophy is I trust my guys. I trust them to execute. That's been his philosophy all year. All year. Actually, it's been his philosophy his entire coaching career. Maybe it's not the best philosophy that we're finding out. Maybe it's a regular season hero type of philosophy. But playoff time, that philosophy has to change. But on the other end of that, if he does call the kick, you're kind of telling your team indirectly / whatever that, hey, all season long, I've been telling you guys I believe in you. I trust you whenever I call. But hold on, this time I don't. It can send the team a little shake up of like, oh, wait, coach is kicking. Usually we go for it. Like, you could see, like, you could probably throw those guys off and be like, wait, coach, like, we've done this so many times. Like, just let us call the play. We'll get it. But then coach is like, no. We're going to kick it.
Yeah.
Then you could get into your own player's head, right? It's a far-fetched idea or philosophy that I'm saying with that, but I don't want to double down and say that he didn't fuck up. He fucked up. Like, he clearly fucked up, but I get why he did it. Whereas I don't think it's that those 2 plays were 100% the reason they lost. Again, a fumble, drop passes. There was so many other miscues that happened to lead up to that situation.
Yeah, I mean,
it's going to be the highlight. That's the problem.
It's going to be the highlight. And I respect his post-game conference because he basically said, I own it. I don't back down from my decisions. I'm going to be called out for it. It is what it is for the position I'm in. So I respect that. He didn't throw anyone underneath the bus outside of himself. In that sense, I can respect his philosophy because it comes down to he knows that philosophy solely comes back to him, right? He's never going to throw anyone under the bus. And we've seen there's plenty of coaches that are willing to do that. So I can respect it. It's just in this situation, it's I think the thing that Detroit Lions need to work on for next season is, maturity means knowing how to win a game when you're ahead and not having to sit there and constantly, like we said, be the cardiac cats. That's maturity. And that's what I hope to see in the Lions the next 2 to 3 seasons is once you're up, you guys have got to figure out a way to keep up, right? You got to, find a way to close out games and not let it continuously get to this point. Because right now it's a trend. It's a habit. But the beauty of habits is they can be broken by maturity.
So I think this goes back to the years past when you guys would ask me about Dan Campbell, and I always just shake my head and be like, "Nah, I don't see it." Right? Like now you guys are seeing what thought I was being proven wrong by this season. My script flipped on Dan Campbell this year because he was doing such a great job, but it reverted back to 2-3 years in the past where it's like you have everything there as a coach, but then now like maybe you're too uber risky. Like Staley was risky, but playing from behind, you're risky playing from ahead. Like maybe you're too risky. Maybe we need to find a guy. I'm not saying get rid of Campbell, but maybe we need to find like a veteran, OC or DC when one of those guys, OC, like when Ben Johnson leaves, if you find a veteran OC that comes in and be like, hey, Dan, let's kick it. Let's not, maybe you need that, something like that. But I mean, it is what it is. There's a reason why you see the Shanahans and the Reeds in the Super Bowl because they think of every little outcome and situation. And that's why they're there.
Yeah, I think next season is gonna be a very different landscape for Dan Campbell. And the reason I say that is it's cutesy, it's nice, it's inspiring to be that bold, aggressive team when you, as they say, play with house money where no one expects anything out of you, right? Because at the end of the day, if you lose, it's the Lions, man. Like, of course you're gonna lose. If you win, it's all right, cool. That was creative. That was fun. But now there's an expectation put on you, right? Next year, those Lion fans no longer going to sit there and say, we just want to make the playoffs. They're probably sitting there saying Super Bowl or bust, or NFC Championship or bust, whatever it is. So when you start losing that game, when you start losing games by being aggressive and things not going your way, it's going to be scrutinized 10 times harder now because there's an expectation of winning.
Did you see that part on his post game where he kind of mentioned that about next year?
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. He knows it's like, hey, we have a target on our back now. They like beating the Lions means something now. So these guys have to be ready. So we'll find out what happens next year, but I'm more curious to see where this Lions offense goes without Ben Johnson. That's where I'm going to be interested in seeing. Because
his play calling, I know a lot of people just sit there and watch football and react to plays. I'd like to think that I watch football and analyze how an OC play calls, right? There's a beauty to the art that a lot of people just don't see. So if you haven't really watched Ben Johnson's play calling, watch how he sets things up or watch how he attacks a weakness. And it's pretty fucking creative is what it is.
You mean me losing my mind watching Penei Sewell go in motion isn't normal?
That was so
I'm seeing this 300-pound man go in motion. I'm like oh shit, he's going in motion.
Yeah.
Obviously no one's with me, but that's what we get excited to see, not the 30-yard run that happens after. I'm more excited to see the freaking lineman go in motion. That shit's cool. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Detroit come next year. With Ben Johnson leaving, there's going to be some question marks as to who replaces Ben Johnson and how creative they get. We saw with the Eagles what happens when you lose your coordinators, especially offensively, what could happen. So it'll be a big tell of Dan Campbell and his coaching success.
Yeah. And then we haven't really talked too much about the 49ers, but one thing I will say about them, this team clearly from this game shows there's no backing down, right? There's no folding over once they're down, which unfortunately has kind of been the stick for them the last couple of years in the NFC Championship game. I will say, I think I started off the season by saying, I like Purdy, and then halfway through the season, I was like, yeah, dude, he's trash. I always knew he's trash. I'm just gonna say, dude, like the performance he put up today was impressive. And I'll say there was 2 passes where he got completely decked, and somehow that ball still got to where it needed to get. And yes, did his wide receivers bail him out a few times? Did that one-handed catch by Jennings look incredible when he shouldn't have done it? Of course. But I will say his ability on the ground and running the ball was impressive. His decision making to a certain degree was impressive. So no longer am I going to sit there and say that Brock Purdy is a trash quarterback. I'm going to say he is a good NFL quarterback. Not great, not average. I want to give him a good rating.
So you're not going the Cam Newton route and saying he's a system quarterback?
God, I mean, I don't know. Anyone that's in the 49ers organization is part of a system, but you don't get to choose. At least right now, he doesn't get to choose where he plays. So be it. We won't know until he makes that decision. But
I always hated that comment. I'm not a Purdy fan. I say that all the time, and he's played great, especially in these playoff games. He's played great. So I'm not going to knock the guy for playing good football. But I always hated the comment that Cam Newton said that he's a systems quarterback, because I think like midway through the season when they were struggling and all those comments were being made, a system quarterback doesn't take off with his legs and create plays like that. A system quarterback doesn't do stuff off the scramble and like those crazy Juwan Jennings dump offs and stuff like that. System quarterback doesn't run for 48 yards to seal games. That's not a system quarterback. That's a high IQ quarterback, which it irks me to say that. It pains me to say that because it's Brock Purdy. But hey, when you play smart and risky, sometimes the smart prevails the risky, and sometimes the risky prevails the smart. And in this game, Purdy was smart, and it paid off. The Juwan Jennings play could have been intercepted. I mean, he could have had a few interceptions, right? So we know Brock's going to be risky. We know if you get pressure on him, he can have some mistakes. But sometimes if you get pressure on him and you're not there in time, he'll step into the throw and he'll take the hit and make the throw, like we saw.
Yeah.
So the Niners piss me off.
No, it's just not to, but I also don't want the Chiefs to win. We'll talk about our Super Bowl predictions. We have
Yeah.
another episode coming next week. We'll break down Super Bowl predictions, matchups, offense, defense, pretty much everything. And we're pretty much Super Bowl vomit on you guys. So get ready for that. I will just say, just to wrap up the 49ers for this game, that defense concerns the shit out of me now. I don't understand how you can have that many superstars and your run defense is that god awful. I don't get it. And then you also have Fred Warner as a linebacker. Like, how's your run defense this trash? So I'm sure Isaiah Pacheco is probably chomping at the bit to be able to stampede his way through that. But concerning. But they're
fool's gold. I'll get into that next week. But the Niners defense is fool's gold. It's a little teaser for you.
Okay. The Chiefs are whiny babies. That's my little.
No. I'm not like
my little tidbit for next week.
I meant to go with like the Niners gold, like fool's gold. Their defense is fool's gold. It's not as strong as people think it is.
Oh,
in my opinion, yes.
Oh, okay. I thought we were just okay.
No,
I thought we were taking shots at Super Bowl teams. So
just call them whiny babies.
Prove me wrong.
Hey, that's
Dude,
true.
How are you gonna mess with Justin Tucker, man? Let's go. All right, just let him kick a damn field goal.
We didn't even get to talk about Kadarius Toney. Do you not know what happened with Kadarius Toney?
I do.
Yeah,
it's kind of not suitable for NFSW or I don't care.
Suitable for work.
Okay, so I know about it, but I don't know. Okay, so maybe tell me if I have it right. He went on Instagram Live, and then he basically said the Chiefs are capping on people, which I assume is his hip injury that they were lying, or he's insinuating they're lying about.
He's like that's cap. They said I had an ankle, then they said I had a hip. Then like blah blah blah. Well, it's like, if you're not hurt, you're just a healthy scratch. Which you can still do that. You can be a healthy scratch, but clearly, you're not a positive influence on the locker room or something. That's why you're a healthy scratch. It's just, it was funny to see. I say funny as in it sucks for Kadarius Toney, but it was just funny to see that an organization that we like so much in the Chiefs, they do things the right way, the respectable way, like all that stuff. They just have a healthy scratch with the guy, and they say he's technically injured. Which is, so it's not a healthy scratch. Like it's a weird, shady thing that came out. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
Well, also that whole thing it's just the epitome of Kadarius Toney, dude. It's like your attitude leaks on the field in abundance, and it's clearly has been shown to the rest of the world. And so when I heard that he had done that, I was like, oh. What do you expect?
Not surprised.
What do you expect out of a guy that can barely catch, a ball, and he's going to sit there and have to be able to catch his own feelings because he's cut or scratched? But Andy Reid is probably going to take care of that very quickly. And am I frozen? It looks like I'm frozen. Fuck. Test. It's paused.
You were frozen.
Oh, good. The recording stopped it. Anyways,
cool.
Back into it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more storylines coming out. Kadarius Toney was a great one, but plenty of Super Bowl ones coming out. We'll kind of break that down. We're finally here. We've got one more game left. And the 2023-2024 season comes to a close. So we'll pump out as much as we can here the next few weeks. If there's anything you guys want us to maybe break down, maybe you have a question or two. Or maybe specifically you want to ask us, I don't know, how do players emotionally deal with being in the Super Bowl? So I don't care. I'll answer whatever questions you have. Or maybe we'll do a Q&A. Maybe I'll just ask for you guys to dump a bunch of questions and me and Shahan can answer it. I don't know. Let us know. I'm down to answer whatever questions you guys think of. We are no experts, but I have feelings and I have opinions, and I would like to think some people like to hear those.
It's a safe space for your feelings and opinions.
It's definitely not. One of our viewers is very upset that you only gave him a emoji of a cookie when he predicted that the Lions would make the playoffs.
Okay.
I think he wanted more than that.
Okay. I don't.
Oh,
They made
it's not a safe space anymore, is it? It seems pretty judgmental to me.
They made the playoffs. Guess what? I had them in my top 5 for the playoffs power ranking. So they made it to the NFC Championship. Did they win? No. So what props do you want for that? They didn't win. Like, cool. They made it to the consolation prize. Whoop-de-doo. Yay. Right?
Sure, yeah. I'm not the one that he's angry at. All right. I've been a Lions supporter since week 6 of last season, right before Dan Campbell got fired. Fine. So,
and I said that Dan Campbell won me over this year, but guess what? They still lost. So, I mean, yay! Like, sure, they made it to the playoffs. Cool, that's great. It's a great story for Detroit. Don't get me wrong, but until you win it all, like, what's the big deal? Like, we don't even know if they're going to be in the playoffs next year. We don't even know if they're going to be in the NFC Championship game next year. So, props for 1 year, cool. Let's get props for like multiple years.
Such a Cowboys fan comment. There are certain fans out here that have teams that don't have Super Bowls, right? So sometimes making it this far feels good, all right?
It does. I'm not saying it doesn't feel good. I was rooting for the Lions. I wanted the Lions-Ravens Super Bowl. But what I'm saying is, like, asking for props for credit for a team that last year was good, so the trajectory was to be better. It's kind of obvious, right? It's not like I'm sitting there saying the Giants are going to make the Super Bowl after last year's performance. The trajectory was supposed to be there, that the Giants are supposed to be good, but you want props for the Lions making it? Okay, cool. You have props. You have more cookies. Congratulations. They didn't win shit at the end of the day.
I think he wanted a real cookie is what
I'll buy you a fucking Levain or whatever.
Ooh.
Give you some Oreos.
Like Levain. All right. Well, anyways, clearly this is no longer a safe space. So if you guys have your opinions, don't tell Shahan to share that with us.
I don't care. I mean, it's cool. They made it, but they didn't win anything. And then next year, we don't know what's going to happen.
We'll see. But anyways, we will break down the Super Bowl next week. And then we'll wrap up after the Super Bowl with our season end feelings and is it anything more than feelings?
Feelings and opinions.
Opinions. All right. Yes. We'll catch you guys next week. Talk Game Podcast. Yep. I'm Gaff. That's Shahan. Later.